This is the Thames. Absolutely mind-blowing.
My family built a world-famous restaurant on its banks.
Ooh la la.
But I'm on a journey beyond that, discovering the food
How can you not like that?
and characters that live
Lovely, look at that.
and work by its side.
Scotch eggs on a boat. Thank you.
Then returning to my boat's galley to cook some of my favourite recipes. From the gentle home county waters
Chef Michel, absolutely fantastic.
to the food and energy of the tidal waves.
We are on liquid history.
That is incredible. Oh, wow. Excellent.
And out to sea. Delicious dishes everywhere I go.
I am seriously salivating.
Cheers.
This is my Roux down the river. I've arrived in the capital and my hometown, London. Now I'm going up a gear.
Unlike the calm waters that feed it, this is the tidal Thames.
For this stretch, I need a bigger boat and a new skipper, Chris Livett.
We have 2 high tides every 24 hours, and the tide can range from 0 metres to 7 metres.
7 metres,
In
that's
12
huge.
hours, yeah, it's a massive rise and fall, isn't it?
As a 7th generation waterman, nobody knows the river like Chris.
We are actually on liquid history. This is the same water that the Romans used to come up and discover London. It's evolved from this lovely, beautiful river of ours outwards, and the old traditional buildings prove that.
My first stop is along the foreshore near the Tate Modern Gallery.
Who even knew there was a beach in central London?
Here, the water recedes with the daily tides to reveal the secrets of London's past.
And I found the perfect companion to take me back through time.
Nicola White is one of London's most renowned mudlarkers.
A lot of what you find on the foreshore is a really good indication of what people down the ages used to love to drink and eat. In the pottery, shells, bones.
In Victorian times, impoverished women and children would mudlark for things to sell. Sometimes as small as a piece of coal or a length of rope.
Once you start mudlarking, it's quite addictive.
And you never know what you're going to find.
Now it's an activity for hobbyists and historians, requiring a license.
So there is a saying in the mudlarking world called getting your eye in. Wander along very slowly, looking from left to right.
It's like mushroom foraging as well.
I'm not quite sure what I'm looking for, but hopefully I'll find some evidence of London's food history.
What we got here then? This is an oyster?
Yes, that is an oyster. And it could be a very old one. Back in London of the past, the rich and poor alike used to eat a lot of oysters, right back to Roman times, when they used to bake them.
Baked oysters.
Yes.
Oh, lovely.
Back in Tudor times, at the Globe Theatre, which isn't very far away from here, the poor people who were in the pit watching Shakespeare, they used to munch on oysters like popcorn. And lots of them just ended up
Hang on a
here
minute.
on the foreshore.
I love oysters and mussels as well. And mussels now, I mean, mussels are still very cheap now.
It's not only food, but all pleasures that turn up.
There was a lot of festivities going on, and yes, there you are.
And a lot of smoking as
A
well.
lot of smoking. Yeah, once somebody had had their dinner in the restaurant here, they would have lit up a pipe, and that probably dates back to the 1700s.
So they were stuffing themselves with oysters. They were
Smoking.
smoking away and throwing their plates into the sea or river.
That's just about it, really, yes.
Wow.
I'm starting to get my eye in. But as a seasoned pro, Nicola's got some old finds she's keen to show me.
Do you know what that is?
Ooh, wow. That looks very delicate.
It's actually a turtle rib bone.
Oh, no!
Yes, and In the Georgian times, turtle soup became so popular, and anybody who was anyone who had a nice banquet would serve turtle soup.
Now, that really is a piece of history, because I've got very old cookery books that have recipes for turtle.
There's also shards of cookware dating back nearly 2,000 years.
That's extraordinary. And you found this here?
Yes, that's right, along this stretch of the river.
And something closer to home.
This is a Victorian piece of pottery, and on it, it comes from a restaurant which was at the time, the early time, was called Maison Française, founded by Georges Gaudin, who was a French immigrant in the mid-19th century, and he was the first person, apparently, in London to serve snails. He had a snail farm in his basement.
The French. That's beautiful. And I love the picture on there.
So his restaurant, this one here, Maison Française, it actually then turned into l'escargot.
No.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's incredible. So it's a direct link to a restaurant that still exists now, l'escargot. So what we need to do is find the rest of this plate.
Yes, that would be a very good mission.
While I'm new to mudlarking, I do know something about ancient recipes. The Roman Empire was intrinsic to the establishment of London. I want to make Nicola a dish they would have eaten here 2,000 years ago. Roman eggs. What better backdrop than the Foreshore, with the river at our side?
Ooh, what a treat.
So this is lovage, or livage in French. It's got a really pungent taste, almost like a cross between parsley and celery.
You can really smell it, can't you?
And it just gives so much depth of flavour to any kind of dish. I'm going to put some black peppercorns in here. You like spicy?
I love spicy. Love it, love it.
A bit of lovage. Pine nuts. So these have been soaked a bit, so they're going to be nice and soft. And the Romans used pine nuts, especially pine nuts, but all other nuts as well, as a thickening agent. And, I mean, it's still done now. I still use blanched almonds and blitz them up and use that to thicken sauces.
I'm taking note of all these tips, you know.
The Romans would sweeten it with honey, balanced with a little vinegar, both readily available at the time. Salt, on the other hand, was so rare that at one point it was used as a currency.
Have a little whiff of this.
Ooh, strong.
Instead, they used garum, essentially a fish sauce.
Garum was used by the Romans really as a condiment, as a ketchup, as a seasoning. And it was also lingering on your breath in the same way as garlic does. So the Romans would be going, whoa, you've had too much garum.
I hope that's not what people are going to think when I go home on the tube.
So now we just mix all of this together, and making it into a paste. Maybe we can find a Roman plate or something to serve it on.
Well, it's certainly interesting to see what might have been on some of my Roman pottery fragments.
Absolutely.
The Romans would then use eggs as the perfect vessel for the intense flavour of the sauce.
Oh, amazing. Thank you very much. Excellent. They're pretty good at cooking, those Romans, aren't they? You can really taste all those herbs and the nuts and the garum. It makes the egg very exotic indeed.
And to go with Roman cuisine, we've got to have a drink that dates back from that time. And that's a bit of mead.
Ooh, lovely. Could this get any better? Delicious. I may have to try this at home. Cheers.
What a way to start. So many insights into the eating rituals of our past. Happy to say mussels are still on the menu today. I'm back on the boat to cook a delicious warming stew that is still one of the best ways to serve them.
The mussels need to be super, super fresh. And to check that they're fresh, tap them, and they should close. So let's cook these mussels.
They take no time at all. Start by sweating down some shallots in olive oil. And we'll put a couple of bay leaves in there and scrunch them up a bit so they release their flavour and their oil. Some chefs like to put thyme or rosemary or maybe sometimes even orange peel, but I just love that flavour of bay leaf, especially fresh bay leaf. Throw in the mussels, a generous glug of dry white wine, and pop the lid on immediately. Got to get that steam going to cook the mussels and for them to open up and reveal that lovely, lovely succulent flesh. They take a matter of minutes. Any longer, and they'll end up like rubber. Wow, look at the rain. It is absolutely tipping it down. Perfect day for a mussel stew. Beautiful. Oh, and the smell of the sea, the white wine, the shallots, the bay leaf. Allow them to cool, then strain off their liquor. Because every stew needs a broth. So in the same pan, a little bit of olive oil. More sweating down. This time, carrots and celery, as well as onion. This is the kind of recipe that could have been done throughout the ages, on an open fire, just in a big pot or cauldron. While the vegetables cook, gently pick the mussels out from their shells. These mussels are absolutely huge, beautiful. Just keep a few mussels in their shell for presentation. Some of the bigger ones, beautiful. Bright orange ones, look at that. Oh. Time to finish the broth. Pour in the cooking liquor and add a very special ingredient. Saffron is very expensive, but it does give that wonderful taste and, of course, a glorious colour. If you can't get saffron like this, you could use a little bit of turmeric, maybe, just to give that lovely golden, warm colour. Oh, yes, we're nearly there. So I need to reduce this down a little bit, by about a third, just to intensify the flavour of the white wine and the mussels. This is delicious. Just one last finishing touch. Aioli is basically like a full-on garlic mayonnaise, and I've always got some in the fridge. Big spoonful, and in it goes. Mix that in. Now add the mussels to reheat them gently, and some parsley. I can't wait to dive in. We need a deep bowl for this, because you've got to be generous with this lovely broth. Now all that's missing is a nice big slice of bread to soak up those juices. This is what I've been waiting for. A bowl of steaming hot mussels. The mussels are like flavour bombs. Really wonderful. This is so good. But I am going to save a bit for the skipper. It deserves it in this weather. I'm back on the Tidal Thames and heading east with skipper and King's bargeman Chris. His family have worked on the river since the 1700s, and I can't help but hang on his every word.
The Thames was the main conduit for food coming into the London markets. You can see actually the remnants of some of the old warehouses over here at London Bridge Hospital.
This stretch between London Bridge and Tower Bridge was once known as the larder of London.
It was here that the ships from Australia, New Zealand and some of the African countries brought their dairy produce in here into refrigerated ships into warehouses, and then it was distributed into the markets from there.
Yeah, I remember as a kid going to the market, my old man waking me up at 2 in the morning. Come on!
My next stop is in the heartland of all of this, Butler's Wharf.
You can still just smell the spices as you wander around. Yeah, so the old spice warehouses were in there, coming from Asia and India.
It's just the other side of the city's iconic Tower Bridge.
What a view.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
It's an amazing bridge, isn't it?
It really is.
1894 built.
And that really does take your breath away.
It does. It's a stunning bridge.
The food history of this area was so rich, and it's just as vibrant today.
Just a stone's throw from here is one of London's most exciting food markets, Maltby Street.
This food lover's destination opened just 13 years ago and sits a short stroll from the river. Every weekend, beneath the 200-year-old viaduct, a whole range of street food stalls celebrate their heritage and the city that's brought them together.
It's got French, Japanese, Vietnamese, bakeries, burgers, steak and chips, chicken, you name it, it's there.
The aromas in the air are intoxicating. I want everything.
Markets like this show that you don't need a fancy kitchen to prepare proper, tasty grub.
The first stall to draw me in is an Ethiopian one, run by Hal and his team.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hello, how are you doing?
Wow, it smells lovely. The colours as well.
Yep, cheers, thank you very much.
So is this typical Ethiopian cuisine?
That's right. That's traditional, typical Ethiopian cuisine.
This is real food.
This is real food.
They were here early this morning to prepare their vegan stews in these huge pans, including a spicy red lentil and butternut squash version. The stews will be served with injera, flatbread made with teff, an Ethiopian grain.
It's really soft and sour.
That's very sour.
Yeah,
So it's fermented?
fermented, yeah. It's fermented for 4 or 5 days. That's a gluten-free
Yeah.
and full of iron.
I can't wait to see how the flavour works with the stew. First, to see how they make their spicy beef one.
Okay, so we're going in with the garlic now.
Yeah,
Chopped garlic.
yeah, chopped garlic.
Lots of garlic. Yummy, yummy.
Yeah.
This is French cuisine. Hey?
And the ginger as
This is
well.
not fresh. This is Ethiopian cuisine.
So you've got onion, garlic, and ginger.
Yep, black cardamom.
Uh-huh.
We're gonna have a green cardamom.
Yeah.
Also, we're gonna have spicy.
Oh, can I have a little smell?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is that just cardamom?
Yes, just cardamom that's blending. Yeah.
Wow, it's so strong.
Yeah.
It really smells citrusy,
Yeah.
like lemony and beautiful.
Now the spicy one.
It's the Ethiopian chili powder that's got me excited.
We're gonna put it more.
That is definitely not French cuisine.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. This is seriously making me hungry.
Ah, yeah, don't worry. We'll get you lunch.
Once the spices are cooked off, flank steak is added.
So that beef looks really fresh. Looks lovely and juicy. Very tasty beef.
It is very tasty. It's very nice. It's really high quality. You will get a little bit of fat, but that fat makes more
Flavor.
flavor.
Yeah.
When you're cooking, it won't be dry.
Rosemary, thyme, and a special spiced butter enriches it further. And it's left to simmer away.
Tell me, is this your family?
Yeah, they are my family. He's my cousin. She's my cousin. He's my uncle too.
Well, that
So-
young man over there, he's got white whiskers like me. He's a clever man. I know a thing or two about family business. So my father, my uncle were chefs as well.
Okay.
My cousin is a chef.
Okay.
My daughter is a chef.
Well, all family is the ship then.
Yeah. The whole family.
That's good. That's
So that's
good.
you, same as you.
Yeah, we're not just cooking for a business. We need to have a passion for that food.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This family are kindred spirits, and I can't wait to taste their food. The steaming beef stew is ready at last, along with a chicken version.
This is beautiful, chef. The colours are amazing. The smell is just intoxicating. It's fantastic. So you recommend putting some of the stew in here and... Yeah.
Go into the injera and just put it in on your hand.
Wow, that is a flavour sensation. The acidity from the pancake, because it's fermented,
Yep.
it's like sour. It's like biting into a lemon.
Yep.
And it seasons the beef even more.
That's right.
That is clever. Lots of natural goodness and love.
Thank you very much. That's the most important.
Yeah.
You know, love is the most important.
And family cooking.
That's right.
I'm blown away. Quite the selection of food, so close to the water, following centuries-old tradition of food hubs here. There's some delicious-smelling coffee.
It's Biscoff, chocolate, espresso. The method is the secret part, so... but it's been a really good seller.
Oh, and I love a cheese toastie.
Everyone loves cheese toasties. You just can't go wrong with bread and cheese.
But after my mudlarking, I can't resist a visit to a stall specialising in oysters.
Wow, okay. This looks interesting.
We do two grilled at the moment. We do a garlic butter, and we also do a teriyaki, which is like ingira sauce on the eel. And I recommend we do one of those for you.
Stall owner Keith is an oyster connoisseur who's been showing his assistant Abraham the ropes.
I think you've opened a few oysters before there.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, looks like it.
He taught me.
Hey!
I can't do it anymore. Old age has done my thumbs in.
They cook the oysters on a Japanese Conroe grill.
This rack is specifically designed for sitting oysters on, because otherwise they just roll all over the place.
So what coal have you got here?
Bichitan.
Bichitan is a specific coal for barbecues.
Yeah.
That
and
burns slowly.
They take it to extraordinary heat.
Yeah.
It's also the most expensive charcoal in the world, giving off an intense, clean heat.
Now, although there's butter in the teriyaki sauce, we put a bit more in the shell.
So you're using the shell as a little cooking vessel?
Exactly, and we do the same with scallops.
Yeah.
And we do the scallops with like butter and soy, which is actually a standard Japanese street food.
Yes.
So that works really well as well.
I can see it bubbling away in there.
Yeah. But that's just what you want.
I can smell it now as well.
While I wait for it to cook, I'm going to kick off with a raw one.
I try and steer people away from Tabasco, which I think is an insult to an oyster, quite frankly.
Here we go. And you should always chew an oyster. Regardless of what they say, you should always chew it.
It's a fork for the sweet soy kabeyaki oyster.
Look at that, it's steaming as well. That looks beautiful. Sweet, salty, buttery.
It almost takes on a treacly thing in the background as well, ain't it?
And the flavour just carries on. I'm gonna have a bit of juice as well. Very, very good. Well done, chefs. That was delicious. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, sir.
Very nice to serve you.
Any other time, and Keith might have talked me into luring down the skipper for a glass of champagne. But there's much more to see and eat at the market. A few blocks from the Thames, in what was once the heart of London's larder, is a food market that reflects the cuisines and ambition of this incredible city. I found a stall that draws in the crowds with an absolute classic.
Hey, hi, guys.
Hey, chef.
Chef patron Alex started this enterprise 10 years ago. So he should know how to cook a good bit of steak.
So let's have a steak sandwich.
Lovely stuff.
So what cut do you use?
That's bavette. Everything we do sustainably sourced and cooking over sustainably sourced charcoal.
I must say, I do love a piece of bavette.
Yeah.
With a fresh baguette toasting on the grill, Alex works his magic.
Traditionally, you would serve this what? Medium rare-ish?
I mean, traditionally you serve it rare.
Yeah.
We try and encourage our guests to have it rare.
The French would have it still going mou.
Exactly. I mean, on the rare occasion that someone wants it well done,
Yeah.
let's say they're pregnant, for example,
Yeah.
we'll allow that.
I love the way you said, we'll allow that.
Well, you know, the customer is always right, to an extent.
To an extent, yes.
Alex is certainly talking my language.
From our little conversation here, I can tell that you may have cooked in a few good places, maybe?
Actually, no. I fell in love with street food, is the answer, chef. Yeah, that's how I got into cooking. The whole purpose of the business really is to democratise the idea of like a high-end steak restaurant. So we're trying to give you all of that quality at an affordable price, and we can only really do that in a street food context where we're sort of high frequency, low margin, smashing it out in a condensed service at lunchtime.
Wow.
You can see that's nice and rare.
Oh, my mouth is watering.
I'm just going to season this with a little bit of smoked salt. Really helps bring out the flavour of the grill. And you need to let me know what sauce I can do for you.
Wow. OK, now got peppercorn?
Peppercorn?
Yep.
Yeah.
The baguette is spread with onion marmalade, some fresh, crisp watercress, the bavette steak, and finally, the peppercorn sauce.
Oh, beautiful, chef. Look at that. Oh, and that is going to soak into the bread. That is going to be amazing. I know this is going to be messy, which is, which I think is the sign of a good bit of street food. So I can taste the onion marmalade, bringing it a bit of sweetness. Obviously, the watercress works beautifully with steak, and it even gives a little bit of pepperiness.
Exactly, yeah.
And then the pepper sauce is softening that bread and going all lovely and gooey and messy, which is what street food should all be. But the beef is amazing.
Thank you, chef.
That is proper good beef. Full of flavour and just cooked how I like it. This is what a steak sandwich really should be all about. Oh, that's great, chef. Thank you.
Thanks, chef. Great to meet you.
Before I leave, believe it or not, I have room for one last cheeky snack. Korean pork gyoza, or Malaysian satay ones, perhaps Thai shiitake. I'll take 4.
Every mouthful I've had up and down this street has been just amazing. Beyond words. And the last one is going in now. What I love about the Thames is that over thousands of years, it has brought in so many different people to London, this great city, different cultures and different cuisines. Very similar to my father and uncle when they came here. The French flag is here, along with all of the other flags that have contributed so much to this great city.
So if I was to have a food stall, it's a no-brainer about what I'd make. Something undeniably French.
So what's more French and classical than roast chicken and garlicky potatoes? But on a boat, that's not going to be easy. The oven here is quite small.
I'm going to debone the chicken and roast it in a frying pan.
So it's basically just taking a knife, going all the way down the back, just following the bones, but being careful not to pierce the skin. This is a little bit tricky, but I think well worth it. It's basically spatchcocked, but I'm removing the bones so that it will fit in the frying pan and cook quickly and evenly. That's it. So we've got the chicken carcass and this boned out chicken.
Remove the wings and the thigh bones too.
If you think this is just a little bit too difficult to do, just ask your butcher to do it for you.
Pour some olive oil into a cold pan and place the chicken skin side down for the best results.
Should be just snug.
Some sea salt and a few sprigs of rosemary is all the seasoning that's needed.
I'm going to cover this with greaseproof paper. So just press that down. That's going to keep the chicken nice and moist when it's cooking.
A heat-proof plate or heavy lid will weigh it down. Then onto the hob.
To get the perfect crispy skin, I always think it's better to start it off in a cold pan and bring the temperature up gradually. That way, the fat under the skin has time to render properly and get nice and golden and crisp.
While the chicken sizzles away, I can focus on the potatoes. There's only one recipe to make.
Very, very French-style pomme sauté.
Cubed and parboiled for 5 minutes. then into a hot pan of oil.
I can just see myself in my food truck or food boat. People queuing up here, the garlic and the smoke and fumes of the chicken wafting out of the skylight there.
French up the potatoes with a generous knob of butter and prep loads of garlic and parsley.
My grandson has only just discovered potatoes, and he loves them when they're cooked in butter, especially when his pappy cooks them. Oh, those potatoes have soaked up the butter, and they've got really lovely and golden brown. Now for the parsley and garlic. That's a lot of garlic. Grandma Roux would be proud of me.
You don't have to flip the chicken over in the pan, and because it's been spatchcocked, it should take no more than 25 minutes to cook.
And it looks beautiful. That skin golden brown. Wow, it's so moist. I mean, you could cut it with a fork. It doesn't need a sharp knife. Perfect chicken for two there. Who needs a rotisserie or an oven? Mmm, lovely. Now the classic potatoes, lots of butter, lots of garlic and the parsley in there.
So what do you think of the Roux street food speciality? French roast chicken in a pan with mountains of garlicky butter potatoes.
Oh boy, they're good. Yeah. They'll be queuing over there for sure. Definitely.
While we're moored up at London St Catherine docks, Chris has called me back on deck to see something very special.
Now, this ship next to us is the beautiful Haven Gore. She played a significant role in the funeral of Winston Churchill.
Oh, wow.
They put Churchill's coffin on the back deck here. He was picked up from Tower Pier and he was taken up by river in a marvellous procession up to Lambeth. And in those days, there were numerous cranes, cargo handling cranes, dotted all around along the wharves up and down the river. And as she went past, every crane dipped in unison. It was the dockers of London that actually had that idea and did it. That's very, very special and thoughtful occasion.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Time to get moving again. Still so much to see. The amount of history along this river is incredible. What an opportunity to explore it. We're in East London on the tidal Thames, passing the Wapping Docklands market hidden beneath the trees. Alongside those enjoying a weekly game of canoe polo. Chris and I are still moving along at a pace, past the countless warehouses that once held all the food coming into London.
It's the old entrance of the London dock. That's where ships like the Cutty Sark could have gone in there, delivering their cargoes of tea.
So this was a hub?
A real hub. The river was full of barges. There'd be ranks and ranks of barges, like you see lorries in a logistics centre today. These were your London's logistics centres.
The thousands of dock workers needed sustenance. Dotted between the warehouses were the pubs that served them. A famous few are still open today.
Sound like the prospect of Whitby over there.
Oh, yeah, the pub.
Yeah, they say that that's one of the Thames pubs that was once frequented by pirates.
The noose that hangs outside is a reminder of the river's dark history. The bodies of pirates once hung in plain view of passing boats to deter any who might be tempted into villainy.
They used to chain them to the riverbed and allow 3 tides to pass over their bodies before they were pronounced dead. Yeah, called the Grace of Wapping, that type of death.
It really is. It's very hard to kind of get your head around it.
The next pub along is the Grapes. No noose here, just the famous Anthony Gormley statue, stood like a beacon in the surf. I'm going back on land to check out this 500-year-old watering hole.
I'm going to order a pint. Cheers, guys. Cheers.
Landlady Joanne runs a tight ship and is much loved by the regulars.
So, Joanne, when was the pub built?
There's been an establishment on this site since 1583.
1583? So, yeah, before your time.
A little bit before mine.
Now the pub is owned by national treasure Sir Ian McKellen. They don't hang pirates to deter trouble. They use Gandalf's staff that's displayed behind the bar. Local historian Alex Lacey has a few more tales for me.
This is where the dock workers let off steam, met people, where communities came together, and the Grapes is an integral part of that history.
And they serve a mean pint?
Yeah, it's one of the smaller pubs in the area.
It's
which,
tiny.
Which is quite entertaining because whenever it is busy, it feels doubly busy. They run a mean pub quiz on a Monday night as well.
I mean, it has got a wonderful feel to it.
It's actually quite famous because it's in the start of one of Charles Dickens' novels, because Dickens came and drank here. I mean, where didn't Dickens go and drink, frankly?
Yeah.
But he did come here, and so he set the opening pub in Our Mutual Friend as the Grapes. And you'll find that most of the pubs along the Wapping area have got history of their own.
So the beer, I'm guessing, hasn't really much changed for hundreds of years. But what about the food?
Well, actually, the beer would have been a lot more rustic back in the day, so this is very much a more refined version of the beer they would have been drinking. The same with food as well. This area, whilst you had a lot of money in the people who owned the docks and the ship owners, there were a lot of people that it was abject poverty. So if you didn't work that day, you didn't eat that night.
Wow.
So pubs would have been feeding really cheap food to people. One of the big things is jellied eels. Which,
I love jellied eels. I'm going to get my gastric juices flowing.
I'm going to leave the jellied eels to you then, because the Thames was a massive source of eels, and they were easy to catch, and they're very easy to cook. So you could just boil them up with some herbs, and as you know, they create their own jelly, so you don't need to do much to them, and they were cheap, affordable food.
Oysters, because we found lots of oyster shells this
Oysters,
morning.
yeah, back then was a staple for the poor. Other than that, it would have been your very basic food, bread and beer.
What a wealth of knowledge Alex is, confirming how important the Thames has been for this city.
To the River Thames.
Now to finish my pint up in the pub's prime location.
Wow, that is London. Beautiful. It even smells good.
Most of this Canary Wharf skyline didn't exist 30 years ago. The city continues to evolve.
You can hear the waves crashing. This really is the tidal Thames.
This stretch of the river has been a whirlwind of history. After a pint in a traditional pub, I'm heading back to the boat to knock up a traditional dessert, my Pear and Plum crumble.
Crumbles are so British. Even the French have cottoned on to this wonderful dessert, except they call it le crumble. For me, the secret of a good crumble is the cooking of the fruit before you put the crumble on top. And then you get that lovely caramelization and the intensifying of the fruit and the sugar. And the crumble itself, I like to add some nuts and different flavors to it.
Roughly chop the peeled pears and cut the plums in half.
So I've got vanilla pods. I cut them in half so that all the seeds will come out and flavour the fruit.
Caster sugar to caramelize the juices and a splash of something boozy.
Now, port is not your traditional flavouring for a crumble, but I love that colour and the depth of flavour that wine or port brings to this dish.
On with the lid and onto the hob.
Stew these down on a medium heat for about 20 minutes until they soften up and all those juices and the port and the sugar, vanilla have mingled together. Ooh, that's smelling good. Right, crumble. I think my favourite ratio is about 2/3 fruit and 1/3 crumble. That normally works. So you start off with butter and flour. Classic crumble, and then you need to get your hands in. So you're looking for a kind of sandy, rough texture.
If there are lumps, it doesn't really matter. Quite on the contrary, it's actually better. You can smell that fruit from here. It's filling up this space with lovely aroma of plums, pears, vanilla, and port. Right, so that's the butter and flour. Now I'm going to add everything else. So some demerara sugar, that's going to add a bit of crunch, some rolled oats, and some chopped up pecan nuts. I love nuts in crumble. That is basically it. Now you need to really mix all of this together. You could use walnuts, hazelnuts, almonds, or even a mixture. But I find that pecans have just got that extra flavour, and it works really well with the pears and the plums. Right, crumble's done. It's lovely and crumbly. And I'm pretty sure the fruit are done too. Let's have a little look. Beautiful. They've softened, they're cooked all the way through. They've gone that lovely ruby red colour. Pour into an oven dish and spread evenly along the base. And I'm going to leave the vanilla pods in there because I think they just carry on giving that wonderful flavour. I'm really happy with that. The colour is vibrant. Let the fruit mix cool before adding the crumble.
Just sprinkle it over, nice and even. This is going to be a delight.
And I've purposefully made a few boulders as well. And that's just going to make more texture. Into the oven for 30 minutes at 180 fan. And I'm counting down the seconds. Right. Let's get this out. Oh, yes. Ooh la la. This is what a crumble should be. All that lovely fruit that's bubbled on the sides there. Gosh, it's steaming. It looks glorious. Absolutely glorious. Oh, but there's one thing missing. I'll just have to rummage in the boat's galley freezer.
Oh, space is at a premium on a boat. Could do with one of these at home.
A dollop of vanilla ice cream. Oh, this is what I've been waiting for. Crumble. That is luxury. Lovely pears, cooked with a bit of port and vanilla. And the plums give that lovely acidity that's needed in a crumble. The French will want to posh it up and call it le crumble. This is the real McCoy. A perfect end to the perfect day on the Thames. And that's it for London. We're heading east to where the river meets the sea for my final leg of this wonderful journey.